Oh yeah.
What's up guys? Welcome back to Inside Out Precision. Today's video, we're gonna be kind of following up to the broadhead tuning video that I did about squaring up the arrows and make sure your broadhead is spinning really well. And the reason I'm doing this video is I had a lot of people reach out and say, hey, do you align the blades on a fixed blade broadhead with the vanes of your arrow? And the short answer to that is yes, I do. I do think it's more important that your arrow is spinning really well, that there's no wobble. But when you line up your vanes with the blades of your broadhead, it just makes all your arrows really, really cookie cutter, and you can practice with just one of them and you know that they're all coming out of the bow identically. So I think it's a good thing to do, whether you're just a little OCD or you want to just make sure that everything's identical. It's worth your time. So if you have any of the Easton arrows that have the hit insert, it's really, really simple. All you need is either a little grinding stone that comes with a packet of inserts, or in this case, I've got my arrow grinder, my square here again. And if you can see on this arrow, you might not be able to, but when I'm looking down this, when the white vane is up, it's right in between these two blades. So basically what that means is that when this arrow is shot, these are catching wind differently than the vanes. So when we line them up, they're gonna be more or less in like the same wind tunnel. I think it just makes sense to have, if you got 3 things on front and 3 things on the back, you may as well have them lined up. So very simple with Easton. This is an Easton axis. So I'm gonna remove the head. And because there's no insert here, all I'm doing is removing a tiny little bit of carbon, and it does not take much. So I'm gonna start with like 4 or 5. Tap that. Screw this back on. Almost perfect. See if I can crank it the rest of the way. Yeah, I still need to go a little bit more. But that was only, like I said, like 5 or 6 turns, and I'm halfway there. So I'm gonna do 4 or 5 more. Screw this back on. And voila, there we go. So now when I'm looking down that vane, that blade is lined up perfectly with this. So they're not gonna fight each other at all when they fly. Now again, I've shot plenty of broadheads that were not aligned like this, but they spun perfectly. I don't know if you can see that very well, but there's 0 wobble in this arrow. And again, I think it's more important that you have no wobble and that the end of your arrow is square, because that wobble is what really will open up your broadhead flight. But like I said, it's an easy thing to do. It doesn't take very much time, especially with the Easton arrows, at least they're the ones that have the hit insert. And that way you just know everything is cookie cutter, everything's flying identical, and it's just peace of mind. Now, if you don't have an Easton arrow, let's say you have a gold tip, or really any arrow that's going to take like a standard insert, or if you're shooting outserts on a small diameter shaft, you're not gonna be able to grind down the aluminum the same way you are the carbon. So in a case like that, what you're gonna have to do is actually screw the broadhead onto the insert, get it nice and snug, and then, oh, where'd my arrow go? And then what I would do is I would set it on the counter, line up your odd vane with the blade, put a little bit of glue on your insert, and then just insert the broadhead and the arrow, and the insert into the arrow like that. And that should, once it sets up, it'll be aligned. And then when you unscrew your broadhead and screw it back on, it'll still go right back to the same place. So, again, it doesn't take very much time. You still want to make sure that you square up the end of your arrow no matter what you're doing. It's really important that you square that up. But that's pretty much the process for aligning your broadheads. If you're shooting a single blade, like just let's say like a kudu or an iron will or one of those helixes that we have where it's just one blade, you want to line it up so that when it comes out of the bow, it's vertical. So, and the reason for that is because when I shoot, the initial flex in that arrow is going to be vertical, right? So if that blade is horizontal, basically it's going to flex up and it's going to catch wind, and then when it flexes down, it's going to want to plane up and down. You kind of get this like porpoisey action. Whereas if it's vertical, it just cuts right through the wind. Then the arrow starts spinning, and you know it's on its way to a good shot. So mechanicals, it's not going to matter. Just screw them on and shoot them. They're going to fly exactly like your field points. There's nothing there to catch wind and cause any shift of impact. So I hope that answers some of your guys' questions. As always, feel free to reach out if you have any more questions or more in-depth questions. You know, this last week we were on a river trip, so I apologize if it took me a little longer than usual to get back to you on some of the answers. But I usually see them within, you know, half a day or a day of you writing them, so I should be able to get back to you. So thank you so much for watching. We've had a really good last couple weeks in terms of subscribers. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button, it would really help us out if you hit that subscribe button and like the videos. Helps us, you know, keep chugging along and bringing you guys good content. So until next time, keep them in the middle, and remember, precision is a decision.